So ladies, let's start. I think you're familiar with the conversations that we're going to have now after sending those questions, but they're not going to go exactly how they had written. It's a conversation we're all having. Importantly, are we happy with where we are in the different sectors that we represent with the gender representation in leadership?
Well, I'll start then. I think I'm not happy. And for me, the biggest issue is that federations need to take responsibility of what happens within the federation itself. Because a football addict, I will speak about football and with conviction, because I know the facts within football. If you look at the National Executive Committee of SAFA, it has 36 members. And of those 36 members, only 5 are women. So it's about 13.8%. Is that fair? And I can tell you that we only managed to have a constitutional amendment that said one of the vice presidents must be a woman. But the discussion and debates had started already in 2012. And we were pushing for 30% representation. But obviously, men found it correct that they need to block this thing, because the more women there are on the board, the less there's going to be of them. But how do we then get these federations to do what is correct? Recently at SASCOG, it was accepted that there's going to be 50-50 representation at board level. What is it that needs to be done so that this must be cascaded to the different sporting codes? Because probably except for netball, all the so-called big sporting codes, athletics, cricket, rugby, football, I've spoken about it, they have less and less of women. What is it that needs to be done more? Does the EPS3, they send stats, it doesn't change. What more needs to be done? And I think from where I come from, SASCOG would then need to say, as the Olympic body, we've accepted this, then dictate to federations to say, you must also fall in line and do the same thing.
I'll have to come to you. In netball, are you pleased with the leadership representation, gender representation?
You see, in netball, as Nomsa has indicated, is different. Our constitution is very clear. No man shall be in the board of Netball South Africa. Not that we are closing them out or whatever. We believed when we did this, it was a question of, we were looking at football, as Nomsa said, we're looking at rugby, and we were looking at cricket, and we're saying, these big federations, they don't want women to be there. So why in a female sport would we want men to come and lead and dictate to us? So we put it in the constitution, and it was like that in the constitution. And specifically, we even put it there to say no man shall lead netball. Even in provinces, it's only women that should be presidents of provinces. So we made sure that we protect our space. We do that. However, in other areas where I sit and I see how men are dominating and how women have less voice, it's scary, because it means, and how women can connive with men. You know, that's the sad part. We have to be honest today as we're talking about this one, because I was elected, I was nominated, and you know that, Lethabo, as the first vice president of Limpopo Sport Confederation. And you know how it was a question of people conniving not to get me there and not to put me there because I'm a woman. And funny enough, they made me fight with another woman. You know, that's how men do things. I was not contesting with men. I was contesting with another woman. And like they made sure that they, you know, it's how they do this thing to us. But it's time, as I said earlier, that we make noise. We talk about these things openly about them. And you know what? We know that we are not going to be liked. And there's no need for us to be liked, as long as we can pave the way for the future generation to come. So as women, our worth is seen, and it's really appreciated. That's what I think it should be.
Gracia, in the space that you are in as a journalist, I want to be honest. I don't know that many women editors, sport editors, to say. How do you find the gender representation in leadership?
Look, the percentage of women in football media is already really small. And then the pool from where people are chosen for those roles, for roles at top publications or media houses, is even smaller because it goes based on experience, it's a certain age group, and so on. And as a result, many women stay in their current role for many years. So if you came in as a journalist, you're probably going to leave as a journalist as well. And that's the tough part. It's because you don't want to say that women are pushed down, but you actually are saying, yes, we are kept in a certain place. You understand? I think that what I found is that a lot of women move out of football media after a couple of years because they don't feel the progression, or they don't feel career satisfaction. So they move out, they move into other jobs, into other industries, into lifestyle, and they leave the field drained because there's so few of us anyway. So few women are promoted to senior roles. And the struggle is that in this industry, you find that you have to work harder. We have to work harder than our male counterparts to prove ourselves. I work for one of the few companies that prides itself on gender equality. But like I said, it's one of the few companies. So that's the unfortunate part, is that women do find themselves leaving the sector and going into a different aspect of media, for example, and they don't stay in football media. So we're not growing in numbers, we're actually decreasing in numbers.
It also brings me to another conversation point that it almost looks like the older women get in the sports space, it does not create enough room for longevity for women. Am I the only person that has realized that? Like, you don't find an 80-year-old somebody, it's not so many, like an 80-year-old woman, who had been doing something like that. You will find a lot of older guys, they're great, they're whatnot. There's longevity for guys, but there's no longevity for women.
That's the thing. And I think it's tough for women, especially in football media, because of the fact that being a journalist in general, whether you are news or whatever other sport or and so on, journalist is a draining job. It's a 24/7 job. It's a Monday to Sunday job. And when women do find that other aspects of their lives are more fulfilling than their career, like being a mother or being a wife, for example, they end up leaving the industry full time for themselves. And as I said, the numbers keep decreasing, not growing.
Maybe Lethabo, to add on what she's saying, it's a question of when we grow old as women, we don't grow strong, unfortunately. I don't know why. Or is it in our genes or something? We grow weak. I don't know why. And we are so sympathetic and we're so understanding. I think that's the only thing that makes us not to go forward. And the other thing is we don't want to stay in positions for a long time. I think, Nomsa, one day I heard you say exactly what I said, to say, I'll do my terms as I want to do them, 2 terms, and I'm done, and I'm gone, and I'm moving forward. But with men, they want to own the space, they want to stay there, and they want to be felt. And if you can look at all the constitutions that say men must leave at the age of 70, who is in majority in voting for that age? It's male, it's not female. So we must make our mark, we must occupy our space, we must talk about it and say, you know what, if I don't move at the age of 50 or 55, where do you think Lethabo and Nomsa are going to be? They'll never come in if I'm still there. So we must make space for others to grow, so as we can have more leaders, not to have certain people in leading positions and they believe that they're sitting there, they're holding the positions, and they are untouchable. They cannot be shaken, they cannot be moved because of this clause, and they keep, and the third part is they will keep the information to themselves. So as when you want them to leave, it's tough for you to let them go.
I think also the system is designed to ensure that women are disadvantaged, because if you check the way federations and a lot of gatherings for sport, they tend to choose weekends and evenings. And remember, as mothers, we have to do the laundry, we have to do the grocery shopping, we have to take care of the kids. So the system is designed to close women out. But also, when the system allows women to be there, I remember at some point, I was told that I'm not yet ready to lead. And I looked at them and I'm like, oh, so the men are ready to lead, but I'm not ready to lead. And when it gets to women, we need women of integrity. We need women of strength. Are they men of strength? And time that as women, we stand our ground and we tell them, this has to stop and it has to stop now. But also touching on what Cecilia said, I think it is important for women. I know it's difficult to be resilient, but it's important. I always say to people, be like clay. You know, you can do anything to clay. It bends this way, that way, this. You do anything to it, you would still find clay being able to produce results for you. Now, as women, I got kicked out of football. I did. I got voted out. And unfortunately, I didn't leave football. No one will make me stop contributing in football. I'm not complaining about it. I'm not crying about it. I accepted that I lost elections, but I didn't go crying here and there and there. What I did is I went back to my constituents and I did what I love, serve football. That's it.
You know, this then we're talking about a lot of gatekeeping, definitely, about the men where they're here, they're blocking the space, they want to own it, and they want to pick and choose where Lethabo or do we put in Cecilia or whoever. Can we then say that there is some sort of exclusion? There will never be anything good about exclusion. Can we then say that there is some silver lining in the sense that we see a lot of women starting their own things? Like you earlier when I was talking to Ndambi, that then she went on to start the Women in Sport Foundation. Like, and then we see those kind of developments coming in that there comes out a little silver lining. We found a little foundations there that are saying we're going to group each other as women, and then we're going to start doing this, addressing this, because we're seeing this is how they want to divide us. We refuse to be divided, and this is how we're going to go about it.
They will always divide us, Lethabo, because of they know our weak point as women. And you know what is our weak point? We don't like each other. We're so jealous of each other. Instead of me uplifting Nomsa where she is, remember, me and Nomsa are in sport, but we are not in the same space. However, I cannot go all out to make sure that I support Nomsa where she is. I support the journalist where she is, give her information, correct information, give her something to work on, something to write about as women's sport. And they're good at dividing us. They're dividing us. You know, they're good at the divide and rule, you know, law that they're doing to us. But I don't blame them. We allow them. As Nomsa said, it's time we stop everything and we say, as women, this is our time, this is our space, and you must feel us. And we are here, and we are here to stay. I mean, that's the only way to go about it, because right now, we can talk whatever. I was saying to people, talk is cheap. I'm sorry, Lethabo. Talk is very cheap. Action, to me, speaks. I'll tell you, you know me when you interview me, I'll always tell you at the time, let's talk, but you know what, look at what I will do at the end of the day. So to me, it's we talk, but what is there that we are doing to change whatever we are saying about? I mean, it's time that we do something big in this country. It's unfortunate that we are under COVID. You know, we should do something big. I mean, look at what happened to Mamaria. Look at what happened to Ausintambi. Look at what happened to Nomsa. And she says she was voted out. Look at what happened to Ilam at rugby. I mean, we can't let all these things keep on going. And it's men who are doing this, and it's men who are influential at the back and who are doing this to women for other women to do this to other women. It's time we say enough is enough. If everything must come to an end now. We must start acting. And as I said, Nomsa knows where we talk and where I say, we must start acting. We have to act. And the sooner the better.
I think it is key that we need to educate and empower, because in my existence in football, I have gotten to learn that as soon as you are strong enough and you have all the necessary information and skill, it then becomes easy for them to put you out so that they can get someone else who doesn't have all the information that you have. Because remember, in any board, when you are new, you're still finding your feet, you're still finding information. But as soon as you know the game and the details of how to play this game, they will get rid of you. So women themselves become this vehicle that makes it possible for men to get rid of other women. Now, what do? We must educate and empower. And I always say to the young students that I mentor that you don't know it all. You can't know it all. You are not Google. So it means I need to go to Gracial, I need to go to Cecilia, I need to go to Lethabo to get information in terms of their own spaces. Gracial speaks about a lot of women that leave football in terms of journalism. I've seen a lot of them. I've seen them move. Busi has moved from Busisiwe Mkwena. She moved from print, now she's in radio. Will she ever come back to print? It's a question. There's a lot of them that I met back in the 90s. They've left, they've gone to the SAPC. And I think we need to create opportunities for each other as women.
Gracia, there is a point that always comes across that I personally am trying somehow, I don't know how we're going to get up about it, that there isn't a lot of coverage when it comes to women's sports, not just women's football, you know. Yes, there's this small group of journalists that are in the newsrooms, you know, that are doing the work and whatnot. The issue that there aren't as many women editors in the newsrooms, as that also affects why we are not seeing, you know, a lot of women content, you know, being driven the way it should be driven, because half of the time when content comes up, let's just speak about football, for example, it has to be banyana, where everyone is sort of interested in it, you know. Banyana will have to feature, they will have to go to a World Cup and whatnot. You talk about the National League that just started last year as well. You will not find as many people that are clued up about it, that know about even about the small clubs that are from Mahlangu or even in Butterworth, for example. Is that a factor in terms of how content is driven, women-driven content?
That's definitely a factor because I think in terms of whoever's in charge, basically that's the way the content gets done. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we also have to acknowledge that I think that when it comes to decision-making positions and the transformation issue, I think that the dialogue for transformation in general needs to keep going. But what I find personally is that the issue of racial transformation takes precedence over gender transformation. So that's why the gender transformation issue always falls behind, you see, because when people think transformation, we are thinking racial transformation. And that is pretty unfortunate for us as women, because for us as women, it's already difficult because you're a woman, you're a person of color, maybe you're not even South African and you're trying to make your way. You don't know where you're going to come from. The odds are stacked against us. And that's the unfortunate part.
Ladies, how do you find navigating the media space in terms of the content? You know, how have you found it in the last couple of years as well? Are you finding that there is a shift maybe in how the reporting is going, in terms of also seeing a lot of women that come to Netball, Cecilia, for example, to come and report on Netball, or even with you, Sis Nomsa, that since the World Cup, you know, as well, we are seeing a lot more women as well coming to report on women issues as well.
Look, Lethabo, it's a question of who leads the media group in your organization. It's key. And when it comes to content, I want to say to Gracia, it's not really fair. I mean, I've been fighting with SuperSport the few past days, because I see they've given other sporting channels, you know, sporting codes channels, new channels on SuperSport. And I asked a very simple question: where is the dedicated netball channel? And they tell me there's no content. I said, no, you can't say netball doesn't have content. That you cannot say. It's the biggest female federation in the country. It's played in every school, in every university, in every corner of this country, in every province, there's netball. So you cannot tell me that. So it's a question of what is that they want from us as females, and what are we giving them to air for us and to make sure that we are known. I mean, if you are not out there to make sure that people know about you, they will never know about you. One thing that I've realized, that netball, since we came in Lethabo, everybody now knows what is netball. They want to follow netball because we make sure that we are there, we get the right people, and we make sure that we want to empower women. And luckily in netball, we have taken a decision that when it comes to journalists and whatever, dominantly it should be female, for a reason that we are a female sport. We want to promote females, and then we know that female will make more content and will give more time to this female sport because they're female themselves. So the issue of content, to me, it's a dicey one. It's a catch-22 situation, because we also have to play our part in making sure that they get content, and they also have to play their part as journalists. So it's a catch-22 one. I don't want to say we are wrong, they are wrong. However, it's a question of let's work together to make sure that the content that it needs to be there, to make sure that the women's sport is covered the way it should be. We need to also be proactive in making sure that we give content to the people to the media world.
Taken from proactiveness that Cecilia speaks about, I think we need to start using new media, as it is referred to these days, to our benefit. Because you see, instead of sitting and complaining and weeping, find solutions. And I think for me, it is us as women that would say, how do I contribute? How do I invest in this? How many of you, Lethabo, out there are willing to say to a club in Butterworth, okay, I have this skill, I will record your matches, or we can put your matches live on Facebook. The only thing that you would probably require from them is data. And in other places, for example, there are a lot of universities playing different sporting codes. In most universities, there's Wi-Fi. So why are people not live streaming these things? So instead of being complainants, let's be solution driven. But in the process of being solution driven, I think we need to address the issue of unemployment in sport, because both men and women are unemployed in sports. And I usually ask young students when they come in and they say, I want to do sports management. And I usually ask them, what do you want to do with sports management? Because a lot of them tend to think, because they see Cecilia, they see Gracial, they see Nomsa, they think it all starts as a rosy, gloomy, nice thing. No, you start from the bottom. I started from collecting chairs. That's why I'm here. I started from the bottom.
Yeah.
Which then now brings me to another issue, that then there needs to be interrelation in terms of work, in terms of different sporting codes, in terms of different sectors in sport, whether it be in sponsorship, it be in administration, it be in media. We need to have that kind of interrelation and interdependence also in sort of helping promote women that are deserved, obviously, that have worked for that promotion into decision-making positions that will ultimately help with the transformation in the sector, in the sports sector.
Yeah, I think also, like I said earlier, a continuous dialogue is definitely needed. And I think, like on what Cecilia said, in terms of that 50-50, you don't want to blame the one doesn't want to blame, but we need a plan forward in terms of balancing it out, where there's the two sectors must be codependent on each other. And in that way, you'll be able to help each other out, you know? I think that awareness campaigns, not just during Women's Month, but all year round is needed. And there are companies who attempt to foster and develop women in my industry, in media, and they do open the door for women, but there's still such a major underrepresentation that it's just, we need to open the dialogue for people to find solutions to figure everything out.
I think the issue of transformation for me, you know, in this country, we all love speaking transformation. And in most instances, people think that transformation is when you replace white with black, you replace men with women. And I think transformation is such a long process. It starts with you as an individual. You need to transform the way you think and the way you look at things, because a lot of us, like a lot of women, we've become complainants instead of you creating opportunities. Gracial speaks of opportunities that exist in the media. And the Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And a lot of people, it's because they do not know where to go. Now, as women, now that I know you, Gracial, I'm gonna ask for your details so that I can then tap into you. Cecilia knows, if there's netball somewhere, I would say to her, hey, we must organize, we must go and support. And this is us as women that have a responsibility of being those ladders. For Cecilia to be top there, I must kneel down, she must stand on my shoulders, then I can stand up. Then she becomes a giant. Instead of us sitting in our houses, complaining, drinking cold drink and coffee, iphelela la namhlanje.
Yeah, no, Nomsa has really summarized it. Iphelela la namhlanje. You know, I need to also kneel down for somebody to be on top of me to go up, and we must embrace that person going up. And Nomsa, you just touched it, you just nailed it on the transformation issue. It starts with you. You must transform how you think, how you do things, and how you make those crucial decisions in the federation that you are. And the problem is, we want to please people. We want to make sure that we just follow the rules. It's not about, what is that, EPG and abiding, and what is the right way to say it? To comply, you know. It's not about compliance. It's about doing the right thing. You know, ticking the right boxes, Nomsa, to say, okay, I've ticked this one. No, we're doing it wrong. We definitely doing it wrong. We need a serious mindset change. We do need that. And we are the people to make sure that we make noise about it, we talk about it, and we make sure that we have that mindset change. And it starts with us. The women that are in this talk, it starts with us.
Yeah. And in terms of, you know, Cecilia, I know you from, you were a player and you served in the local structures, you know, of netball long before you even became Netball South Africa president. And you also spearheaded the team that's bringing us the 2023 World Cup to South Africa. You know, and we look at issues of mentorship as well, that when you are at the top as this leader, and the conversation that we're having right now, that transformation starts with you. Do you reach down to other people, accessibility to you in terms of the younger people that are coming up in your different sectors, even you, Gracia, as well, the young women journalists that are coming up especially in your company, not just women journalists across in your company. Are you accessible enough as a leader as well? Is that another conversation we should have, that leaders up there where you are you guys accessible?
100%. 100%. I am 100% accessible. Anybody in netball can talk to me. Anybody out of netball can talk to me. I'm even mentoring people that, for your information, Lethabo, I'm mentoring people that are not in netball. Because they see my worth. You know, it's funny that when we are somewhere, ne? Where you are at, people will never see your worth than people who are outside. You see, Safa won't see Nomsa's worth but universities saw her worth. That's the sad part about this thing. But you know, you don't even have to focus on that. Just say, as long as I can make a change and I can, you know, groom somebody in their field where they are and become a better leader. Not a leader like me. I always say to people, I don't want people to be like me. I want them to be better than me. So if I can do that and achieve that, then I'll have achieved. However, my door is open. I know, even Nomsa knows that my door is open. I know her door is open. I can even say, I know Nomsa's door is open at any time. The women I'm with in leadership that I know, most of them are very much open when it comes to that. We discuss issues. We can never agree on everything. We will disagree on some of the things. However, at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about the future generation that is coming behind us.
Very true. Wow. I think for me, mentorship, and I always say to my mentees, you need to transition from being a mentee to being a mentor. And you then have to transition from being a mentor to being a sponsor. Because you see, the problem is that we continue speaking about mentorship, mentorship, mentorship. We need to become sponsors. I need to boldly say, you know, I've actually sponsored Lethabo. You see where she is sitting in that position. I made it possible for her, but you don't go out there and gloat about it. Do it silently and you smile. And a lot of people would always ask me, how do you term success? For me, success is when I see those that I've mentored achieving. Because I'm at a university, when I meet the first year students that are still finding out, for me, success is when they graduate, regardless of what they achieve on that field. But the day that song, I'm the happiest woman on earth because you have achieved what you have come there for, and I have made it possible. And for me, anyone can WhatsApp me. I respond to every WhatsApp, but the stalkers don't avoid. I block.
Gracia, how accessible are you to younger journalists in your field, even in your company?
I'm very accessible. I think we very few females at work. They know they can ask me anything. The main issue is for me is that I learned everything I know from a man. So because of that, I'm willing to impart all that knowledge onto a woman. So because I didn't have a mentor who was a female. I didn't have someone to learn from who was a female, but I've learned everything from a man. And because of that, I'm so willing to impart that knowledge on a younger female.
To other women. Yeah. You know, Gracia, from what you have said, I think the other issue is, you speak of accessibility, Lethabo. Some people say I'm not approachable. I've heard this from a lot of people, including journalists. And people need to know and understand, red is red with me. I don't sugarcoat anything. So you must know your story when you come to me. And the one thing that people fail to understand is that when you approach anyone to mentor you, I think Cecilia said this in her earlier interview where I was watching her. You need to know what you want. Don't waste my time. When you come to me, tell me what you want. I will tell you whether I can do it or I can't do it. And again, when you are a mentee and you have a mentor, remember this relationship is about working and improving you. As much as I learn from you, I will give you assignments as well. Because at times my reports get written by my mentors. And I say it to them, hey, and because most of them went to Motlisi schools, I went to Elokshini. I would always say, hey, write with your beautiful English. Mina, my English.
Just to, as we wrap up, this is the last question. Something that I struggle with a lot is to say that somehow as women in this industry, we are unable to call each other out or to even critique each other constructively for reasons of saying, people will say, no, Lethabo does not like Cecilia. She's always going to say, yeah, Cecilia is doing this, is doing that. Just getting back to that point that Cecilia made up, that we're not here to be liked, especially for leaders. How do you do that? Like, this disciplining people or calling people out and critiquing other women as well. Like, I find it to be a big of a challenge, because sometimes I sit with things I would want to say, you know what, okay, there I feel like girl could have, should have, or shouldn't have. But you think about the politics of, maybe I want to be liked. I hope I'm not going to be that person who just wants to be liked because I'm not money. So it's something I struggle with. The conversation is that, how do you then do it as leadership? Because as women, I feel like it's something that holds us back. The fact that we are unable to critique each other so that we can do better and be better.
You see, the moment you're a leader and you don't want to be criticized, I think you're in the wrong field at all. To me, critics build me, and I choose what to listen to and what not to listen to. Because some critics are negative, not to build you, some are to build you. So you must know and you must be able to analyze what is building you and what is not building you. I might want to criticize Lethabo because of I'm jealous of Lethabo. You will pick it up. I might want to criticize Nomsa because of I think I'm better than Nomsa. You will pick it up. I want to criticize Nomsa because of I think when I tell Nomsa that Nomsa, look, sometimes you need to smile a bit. When I'm serious too much, when I'm smile, you see, it's you saying to her, do something that I see as another woman. You're fixing Nomsa's crown, and we are bad at fixing each other's crowns. I rather, you know, when it's falling, I rather, you know, help in making it fall so quickly that I can be able to talk. That nenka makala crown ele adula mo Nomsa. Not saying, but Nomsa, as you're sitting there at universities, I'm in netball, what can we do? I mean, Nomsa even had guys to come to me last year at TNLR. How do we fill up this wall? You know, you need sponsors to come on board. We host in 2023. How many women did that? Zills. It's only her who said, and she was with men. And I applauded her for that. And I really respected her for that, to say, oh, another woman fixing my crown. You know, you don't get this most of the time. And you're like, okay, what do I do? Okay, Nomsa, this and that and that. And, you know, I like Nomsa. She's straight anyway, Lethabo. Because the other time when she was supposed to hire Bongim Somi, she said, look, I'm hiring one of your own. Don't hate from the streets or whatever. I'm telling you, as a leader of Bongi and as a female, that you know, this is how we should work. And if we can start doing that, fixing each other's crown and making sure that when I criticize you constructively, I think we can grow and we can close this gap that we have amongst us and the insecurity. I mean, the more we criticize you, you start being insecure, Lethabo, to say, am I doing it right? You know, and one thing I said, now I've learned to take critics and turn them into positives. So how many of us can do that? So it's about you and what you want and what you want to achieve. And that's what I always say to people. What you want and what you want to achieve, know exactly what you want, then you'll move forward. And critics will always be there. Lethabo, I'll repeat this. You are not money. Not everybody will like you. They will criticize you left, right, and center because of you are not money. Money they love. They don't love you. And don't want to be loved or liked. Do what is best and what is good at the space that you are. Brighten the corner where you are.
Wow. I think it's important to have frank and open conversations. I'm a person that believes in speaking openly. I believe in directly saying to this other woman, I'll make an example. A few years ago within university sport, myself and Ilam Groenewald were going to contest each other for the elections. And I actually called Ilam into a meeting and I said, let's sit down, let's have this discussion. Why do you want to be president? And I also told her why I wanted to be president. And I sat long and I thought about it, because within the structure, we ended up with two camps. There was a Nomsa camp and there was a Ilam camp. And I sat alone and I made a decision that I'm withdrawing from this race and I'm not going to go to that meeting, because had I gone to that meeting, the so-called people in my camp were going to convince me not to withdraw. But as a woman, you need to make decisions yourself as well. But also decisions that you make must not be selfish. They must be decisions that are meant to build. But also as women, we must be able to compete. Because you see, I'm a very competitive person, and I believe that if there is, maybe in a few years' time, I decide that I want to contest the elections of rugby, and Cecilia also wants to contest the elections of rugby. Me and Cecilia, before the other people behind us start saying anything, we must have a conversation. Because people tend to think that leadership is about having followers. Leadership is about creating other leaders. And people need to understand this. There is nothing I hate like a VVIP area at any place, because people tend to think that leaders, when they get to a stadium or wherever, what are you going to drink, president? Hey, president must get his own drink, man. It's okay to be, it's okay,
Yes.
but we are in leadership to serve. We are not there to be served. We need to change that, then we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gracial, your part in short in terms of the critiques, giving and receiving where you are.
I'm open to constructive criticism. It's part of my daily. But for me personally, I think it helps you grow. Like Cecilia said earlier, you need to filter out the good and the bad. You need to filter out what breaks you down, what has potential to break you down, and what has potential to build you up. I am open to giving criticism. I do give a lot, but it's also to make people grow and to help them be better at the end of the day. We're here to, as I said, build people up, not break them down, especially women. And in the industry that I work in, it's the drive to be the best out there. So it's quality, it's best content. It's kind of challenging because you have to be hard on people often. But you, depending on the personality, some people you have to treat with padding, where some people you can be straight talk and they don't take it as an insult. It's just a bit of people management, if I can put it that way. I think we all have a way of getting around, okay, I'm going in hard, or I'm going in medium, or I'm going to put in my sweet voice for that person. But yeah, that's basically it. It's part of life. It helps you be better, and you definitely need to filter it out.
Ladies, we could go on and speak about a lot of things in leadership and in sport, but I'm taking from what you said that we need to stop talking too much and start acting, and wherever we are. Thank you so much for returning my text, for getting on this platform. Thank you so much. And definitely when it's posted up, we'll tag all of you and your federations where you work at. And I really appreciate it, because this platform, I'm learning so much that it's like there's a whole new community of women. Every week when I do recordings with the ladies, there's a whole community. And what this Nomsa is saying, that take each other's contacts like after a conversation. And I like the fact that with this platform, it's conversational. It's not, we're not interrogating each other. And we are all learning that we have so much similarities, and instead of so many differences, it also in terms of the wars we are fighting as well. But I appreciate your time, and I want to wish you all of the best in everything that you do. and that you don't stop taking my calls when I call for stories and everything. I appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely week. Welcome to the Front Runners Team Talk. Makazi, firstly, let's speak about, you are a seasoned administrator in sport in South Africa. Are you happy so far in 2020 with the representation in terms of leadership, in sport, gender representation in leadership in sport?
You know what, I can't say I'm happy with the representation at the moment because of in the late 90s, we were talking about 20% representation. And now here we are sitting in 2020. We still don't have that 20% in some of the federations. So that bothers me. But what excites me now is the fact that we had a discussion in 2018 and 2017 about representation in federation, and we agreed that we should push for 50-50 representation. And I was happy in 2019 we managed to do that. So we make sure that SASCOC in their constitution, they should insert a clause that says there should be 2020 50-50 representation of women. And I think that to us is a big achievement because of now it's written in the constitution, it's there. But the challenge with that is the fact that we need to make sure that that 50% it's women with value, women with credentials, because of men have a tendency of just taking a woman from nowhere and place her in a position and tick the boxes. So we need to make sure that people don't just tick the boxes. They put women who are going to add value, women who are competent, and women who deserve that position. And then that follows up to the fact that all other federations have to also implement that 50-50. It shouldn't only be SASCOC, because SASCOC is formed by federations and they are the ones who approved it. They need to make sure that that 50-50% is implemented in football, in rugby, in cricket, in all federations. And that's our next step that we have to monitor, that all federations are going to implement that policy.
Yeah, definitely not to just have women making up numbers, whereas there's nothing significant being represented. But then we look at this lack of leadership in terms of the gender representation and whatnot. Could this be the reason why there's also a slow movement in terms of transformation, gender transformation in sports generally, because we don't have enough women in decision-making positions?
I wouldn't say so. And actually, what I'm prepared to prove is that we do have enough women. We do have enough women, but the problem with that is that some men are trying to sideline those women and coming back to say, but there are no women. And now what we are doing as SAWAFs is that we want to keep a data of all women who can occupy positions. And we've started doing that by training 27 women early this year in March on leadership. And those women are ready to take any position that they are capable of taking. But also we need to spread that up to actually invite more women to bring us their names and their credentials, so that any federation that says they don't have women, we should be saying, but these are the women that are there to take positions, and they are ready, they are able, and they are the people who can actually make an impact.
And then also, does this also, with the two questions that we have tackled so far, it almost sounds like there's still a lot of gatekeeping by men. Yeah. Is it that big?
It is big gatekeeping. I would tell you an example about myself. where I was standing for nomination for SASCOC.
I remember that.
That's it, yeah. So two men meet and discuss my nomination. And at the end, another man lied in the process and say, I'm not known in SASCOC, I don't have experience. I can't remember what was the other third person.
You don't have experience.
Exactly. And it's a person who his credentials are not equal mine. It's a person who joined SASCOC after I was in SASCOC. Oh, the third issue was that I've never served in SASCOC subcommittees. I have served in SASCOC committees. So you can see that is a way of gatekeeping to make sure that even if you do have credentials, they come up with other means of stopping you from nominations. Yes, they managed to win that one, but I think the issue is that it's known now that there are men who are keeping certain women to be in positions, and we do have a case now that we can use. So how many other women are kept aside in the process? And I think I'm happy it happened with me, because then now we can use it to actually talk about other women, and I think women will now come out and actually tell their stories.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting because of it was all over the media. So I think because of more women are aware about it, they will be able to come up and tell their stories.
Definitely the gatekeeping is not a good thing at all, but then it sort of also then sort of allows women to start their own thing. I mean, now we're talking about the South African Women in Sport Foundation as well. It will also drive us into that direction where we are now as women starting our own thing to say, fine, if you're going to be blocking the space and not letting us do what we do and something that we're good at, you know, is this driving us in that direction ultimately to say, it's fine. We will go this way. We will do our own thing.
Yeah. Actually, you're quite right, because of the reason why we wanted to form this organization is because we started it in 96, and people were threatened because they realized that it's becoming stronger. And unfortunately, because of it was formed in the Department of Sports with the support of Minister Steve Tshwete, when this next minister came in, he dissolved it. So we revived the same structure in 2008, realizing that, you know what, if women don't have a forum where they talk about their challenges, most of women will be frustrated and leave sport, whilst we need them in sport. And that's what was happening. I mean, you can ask me now, how many women started with me are still in sport? Very few.
Yeah.
Because of they realize that it's frustrating, it's and they don't have anyone to help them. And now we have organized this structure so that we do have a forum where we talk about our frustrations, our solutions, and how are we going to tackle these issues moving forward. And this structure is helping a lot, because of women now knows that, you know what I'm experiencing, I'm not alone. Other women are experiencing it, and this is how they're dealing with it.
So just lastly, obviously you are speaking from an administration point. I'm a journalist, but almost our situations are almost similar, you know, the gatekeeping, this and that, and you find that maybe even in sponsorship as well. Like right now I speak with you, I don't know that many women editors, sport editors to say, you know. So that, how do we then as women use some interrelation in terms of the different sectors that we represent in sports, like administration, the media, sponsorship side, you know, maybe even government perhaps as well, to make sure that this works for the betterment of promoting women to deserved decision-making positions?
Our strategy deals with everything. It deals with women in media, it deals with athletes, it deals with coaches, it deals with administrators. So we are not only focusing on administration, it deals with also women in business of sport, because there are so many women that are running businesses in sport, but they are not getting the same opportunities that their male counterparts are getting. And actually, sometimes you find that they are very good. So the challenge is that when we invite women in other sectors to come, they usually don't come, I think for whatever reasons, but this organization covers everything. We were having a meeting last week on sponsorship. We've done a research on sponsorship now as SAWAPS because we want to focus on the issues around sponsorships. We write to you might even not know that we are writing to most of media houses about their women representation. We are writing to them. We are writing to them on how they portray women in their media and how they are not actually covering women as much as they are supposed to. So we are actually working in all sectors. But I think the most important thing that we need to do as women is to have joint forces and not running smaller spaza shops there and there. And those spaza shops are not making a big business. And I think that's one of the things that we need to work on, to say, let's run all our projects aside, but once a year, let's all meet and discuss all our challenges, so that I shouldn't be saying there are no female editors. Yeah. Whilst you guys also are fighting on the other side, we should use our energy to fight that together. And I think together it will have more impact than if someone is doing it alone. So I think we need to combine and pull up our energies and make sure that we make an impact.
Ntambira Vele, South African Women and Sport Foundation founder, thank you so much for giving us your time this morning.